The 2018 Indian motorcycle Roadmaster Elite, how does it stack up to the competition? Indian motorcycle is flourishing under the Polaris umbrella and making some serious inroads into the American-style cruiser and touring market, serious enough to begin to pose a threat to the long-uncontested American king, Harley-Davidson. Blasphemy, you say? Maybe not so much, considering Indian's phoenix-like rise from its own ashes with an ever-expanding product lineup and unquestioned dominance on the flat track. Seriously folks, it's shaping up to be a great year to be an Indian fan so far, but a lot of the current buzz is all about the Scout that is sort of in a class all by itself. Indian's premier, top-of-the-line touring sled, the Roadmaster Elite, isn't quite as niche, and it jumps right into the deep end against some fairly established competition. Yeah, I'm talking about industry heavies such as HD, BMW, Yamaha, and Kawasaki. There are more to be sure, but the aforementioned are going to be the main players in our competition today as I stack my picks against Indian's flagship Comfort Mobile. Harley's CVO Limited joins the Kawi Vulcan 1700 Voyager, Beemer's K1600 GTL and the all-new Star Venture in the struggle to garner that top-shelf clientele, the same bracket Indian targeted with the Elite. And with that, the ring girls are done prancing in a circle, the stools have been pulled out of the corners and the ref is in place. Ding ding. Continue reading for more on the Roadmaster Elite and its competition. Design. Right off the bat I have to point out that the Elite looks a whole lot like any of a number of Harley's touring models in the last 20 years or so. Honestly, the motor company defined the American touring sector as the only active U.S. manufacturer for large periods of time, so all American-style cruisers have a tendency to favor the king in one way or another. The Elite certainly falls closest to that style, but the uniquely curved front fairing quickly sets it apart from Harley's Batwing, and the chrome trim on said fairing pushes it even further away for a look all its own. An almost car hood-like entry on the Venture gives it a unique look, and its beefy lower fairings match the leg protection offered by both Harley and Indian, an area BMW minimizes due to the Sport Tour configuration, and one that Kawi neglects entirely. As for the BMW, yeah, it does have a different overall shape, but if a buyer is motivated primarily by features, Beemer offers a package that covers many of the same bases in its GTL. The Voyager seems to have all the basic features in the right places, but the overall panache just seems a little sophomoric compared to the sophisticated and mature Roadmaster Elite, and while the Venture is a little better in that department, it can't touch the sex on wheels of the Indian and Harley products. As for the paint, well, HD is still king in my opinion, but Indian recognized early on that it had to step up its paint game to compete, and I have to admit whoever does the paint for Indian has his or her shit together. The factory goes for broke with hand-laid graphics, 23-karat gold trim, fabulous as far as it goes, but you'd better like the two-tone cobalt candy over black crystal scheme, cuz that's all that Indian has available this year. Harley's CVO Limited comes in 4 two-tone schemes while the Star Venture can be had in red or black, and the rest just come in black, so Indian's paint is top-notch, if a bit limited in variety. I'm not sure slapping some 23K gold accents on it brings it any closer to the king of paint. As for the rest of the bike, the hard bags, large pillion seats and tour packs with backrests are constants across the board for similar looks and features. Sound systems also make an appearance on all 5, but the relatively budget-priced Voyager comes with a simple radio receiver, intercom setup that can't touch the Indian's ride command feature, and Beemer's audio and navigation suite is optional equipment that doesn't even make it onto the base model. Yamaha makes a solid effort with a sound system plus GPS and SiriusXM receiver, but Harley is alone in its ability to compete on equal footing with Indian's infotainment rig that brings an industry-leading, 7-inch, touchscreen display to the table with all pertinent metrics displayed with a pinch-to-zoom feature that makes navigation a breeze, even with gloves. A receiver grabs AM, FM and NOAA weather radio signals with a Bluetooth and USB input for your virtual jukebox to round out your entertainment options. In the end, I think the Roadmaster and Limited are the best looking rides, and I realize that aesthetics are subjective, but I could really do without the chrome on the Indian's fairing. Yeah, it's a small detail, but as Fraser Crane put it, what's the one thing better than an exquisite meal? An exquisite meal with one tiny flaw we can pick at all night. So yeah, exquisite look with, in my opinion, one tiny flaw. Chassis. The Roadmaster Elite suspension is sadly typical for American bikes as well as large tourers in general. An air-adjustable monoshock buoys the rear with the typical steepless preload adjustment and cushy ride, but the 46mm front forks come sans adjustment. The Vulcan and Venture both run similar setups, and the Limited is only a little bit better with the dual bending valve front forks that deliver a non-adjustable, if plusher than vanilla ride. BMW spanks them all with its dynamic electronically controlled suspension feature that comes standard and delivers the best ride of the lot by far. For whatever reason, American manufacturers and builders of American-style tour bikes around the world have been slow to adopt adjustable, electronic suspension, and Indian is no exception, so it has some room for improvement there. As far as the anchors go, the Roadmaster Elite goes big with dual, 300mm discs up front with another in back and ABS support for the 4-pot front binders and twin-pot rear. All that sounds pretty standard, but while it does improve safety, the system seems to fall short. Harley, Yamaha and Kawasaki all offer some sort of combined braking feature that balances the braking pressures from front to back for safer, more stable operation, but I see no such feature attached to the Elite, another area where Indian has some room for improvement. Given that these bikes are all intended to be ridden for long distances, I consider the suspension to be a big contributor to a bike's long-term comfort. To be fair, big tour bikes usually have a fairly plush ride simply by virtue of their mass, but there's plush, and there's plush. Indian makes up for the loss of one type of comfort with the addition of another. Heated seats and grips keep rider and passenger warm, at least at the points of contact, but so do all the other makers in this bit. All except for the Vulcan, so Indian doesn't pull ahead with the heated bits, but has managed to hang with the big dogs at the top. Drivetrain. Indian has a real gem on its hands with its Thunderstroke 111 power plant that, as the devilishly ingenious name suggests, displaces a whopping 111 cubic inches, 1,811 cc. This is the first engine produced by the newly revamped brand and is thoroughly modern for a pushrod engine, but the design is very nostalgic with the parallel pushrod tubes and cooling finned rocker boxes that make a direct connection to the old flathead, sidevalve mills from back in the day. As cool as it looks, it's the performance that really makes this lump so attractive. V-twins, by their nature, are always torquey, and the Thunderstroke is no exception with a crushing 119 pound-feet of grunt at a low 3,000 revolutions per minute. Yeah, at almost a half-ton wet, 953 pounds to be exact, it's got its work cut out for it, but if you grab a fistful of throttle you're going to feel it, and that's a fact. Harley ekes out a win here with its new, 114-inch Milwaukee 8 lump that cranks out a staggering 124 pounds-o grunt at 3,250 revolutions per minute, and Beemer takes it even further. Gotta love those Bavarians, they're so meticulous, with 129 pound-feet from its 6-banger mill. Yamaha falls in the middle with 126 pound-feet at 2,750 revolutions per minute from its 1,854 cc 113 cubic inch plant, and the 1,700 cc Vulcan comes in last with 107.6 pounds-o twist. Even though Indian falls near the bottom of this column, I would submit that anything over 100 pounds of torque is good enough for this genre. It's a tour bike, not a race bike, and if you're that concerned with speed, perhaps you're looking at the wrong kind of bike. Just saying. One glaring oversight with the Roadmaster is the total lack of engine fandanglery, specifically the features we are becoming used to seeing around like traction control, variable power delivery modes and such like. Yamaha gets it, and runs a ride-by-wire throttle that enables both types of systems. Beemer does too, and once again goes to the top shelf with all of the above plus a clutchless shift feature and electric reverse. Kawi keeps it vanilla, and so does Harley, no surprise there, am I right? So Indian isn't alone in the low-tech corner, but once again it shows where the factory could pick up its game a bit. In fact, I'll go so far as to say that if Indian were to develop or buy a traction control system, and adopt some adjustable front suspension, it could really put the hurt on longtime rival HD. Pricing. Indian must have union labor or something, cause its prices are as overly proud as Harley's. The Roadmaster Elite rolls for $36,999, a price that beats only the $40,999 CVO Limited. Beemer shows everyone up with the absolute most bells and whistles on its K1600 GTL while only scratching the surface of the $30K mark at $30,395. The Star Venture can be had for $24,999 to $26,999 depending on color choice, and Kawasaki brings up the rear with the lowest price at $17,499, but is also the most basic, so you gets what you pays for. Sick. He said. In the end, no one bike has everything. Yeah, Beemer comes close, but it looks like a crotch rocket with bags, and has none of the charm associated with American machines. 0. Indian falls short in some of the top-shelf gadgetry, but it's pure sex on wheels by comparison to the GTL. For me, it's a close race between HD and Indian, but that's to be expected, cause who else could possibly build a true American-style ride, right? The factory needs to look at the suspension and engine electronics, and someone needs to find more paint, but beyond that there's nothing wrong with the bike. As steeped in Harley experience as I am, if I had the cash, I'd seriously consider jumping the fence for the Elite. That's my story and I'm sticking to it. She said. My wife and fellow motorcycle rider, Alan Hinton, says, the Roadmaster Elite is a beautiful bike, there's no doubt about it. I'm not sure how I feel about the gold in the paint job. That seems like an overly posh gesture when other aspects of the bike aren't quite there, but as my husband said, one tiny flaw at which I can pick to my heart's content. As a top-of-the-line tourer, it is a capable ride. Specifications. References. Harley-Davidson CVO Limited. Read our full review on the Harley-Davidson CVO Limited. Kawasaki Vulcan 1700 Voyager. Read our full review on the Kawasaki Vulcan 1700 Voyager. BMW K1600 GTL. Read our full review on the BMW K1600 GTL. Yamaha Star Venture. Read our full review on the Yamaha Star Venture.
If you liked this video, please share your thoughts in the comments below and don't forget to hit the subscribe button.